Breaking right now on his way from New York to Los Angeles, where he is about to headline for a second year in a row the Living Legends of Aviation event. Our cringeworthy spare prince, Harry no less, has decided to launch another broadside at his cancer-stricken father, King Charles, on the cover of a trashy US tabloid magazine. Is this really what he meant by finding freedom? According to Taz, the royal YouTube sensation with me now. And Tash, I do want to look at this Us Weekly article in just one moment because I think it's particularly despicable. But first, Harry, he's had his moment as the little bit of arm candy, as the spare in New York, absolutely mortified by the fact that he's playing second fiddle to a D-list Suits actress. So now he's going back to his happy place in Southern California. This is the 22nd annual Living Legends of Aviation ceremony. It will be held later today at the Beverly Hilton Hotel with John Travolta serving as host. And you remember he was honoured last year as a living legend. This year, actor Morgan Freeman will be attendance, and the inductees include Christopher Cassidy, a real living legend of aviation who was a former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut who logged 3 space flights, and Robert Hoot Gibson, a former astronaut. But isn't this just so mortifying, Tash? It's almost like Meghan said, come on, you stand by my side here, and then you can go off and pretend to be a living legend of aviation again, even though your entire military community are laughing at you for such a fanciful claim.
It's almost as bad as Harry going there as it would be seeing now Gayle King and Katy Perry in their little astronaut suit. I mean, honestly, it's an absolute farce, Dan. I think the majority of people are well aware there are good reasons why we've never seen Harry, unlike his brother, fly a helicopter, fly a plane, or do any piloting experience since he left the army. In fact, I don't think anyone's ever actually seen Harry fly any sort of aeroplane or anything. As I said, even a helicopter outside of the grounds. We've seen Prince William for years take part in all sorts of piloting exercises. Harry, outside of staged photographs, we've never seen him. So I do believe the rumours that Harry never qualified to become a full pilot, that he was a gunner because of that. You know, it's quite well reported that Harry wasn't, what shall we say, academic. So it makes sense that, you know, he was pushed into the position of being a gunner. It allowed him to keep face. But as I said, he's not a pilot. And the fact that he went and accepted that is just laughable. I'm embarrassed for him.
Prince Harry is on his way back to California for what? A second round of being honored at the Living Legends of Aviation event. Come on. The man isn't even a pilot. As Tess puts it, we've never actually seen him fly anything. Outside of staged photos, Harry's aviation record is all PR. His brother Prince William, certified, documented, respected. Harry, a gunner. Yet here he is, rubbing shoulders with astronauts and decorated aviators like he's done the same. It's delusional. And now Meghan's got him posing like a legend, while behind the scenes their PR is spiraling. The only thing legendary about this is the level of cringe.
I know, I really am too. And actually, Tash, that is a really good point for me to say. If you sign up to my Substack, www.outspoken.live, you can watch my brand new bombshell interview with Trevor Colt MC, who is going into a lot more details about the allegations that Prince Harry never passed all of that training that he needed for the military. It seems like there has been a big cover-up surrounding that, and you can watch that interview at www.outspoken.live right now. But Tash, can we talk about this Us Weekly magazine cover? Because I am totally appalled by this. It's like, when are you going to stop, Harry? When are you going to understand that your father has, according to Lady Colin Campbell on this show, incurable cancer? And what, you want to bash him week after week after week in trashy American tabloid magazines, which I thought was everything that you were opposed to? He's literally doing what Princess Diana's enemies did to her. which is something he has always claimed really destroyed her life. Well, your father is now in his final years, yet you are doing the same thing.
He's learned absolutely nothing. Even when he was very vengeful and angry when they decided to do Oprah, and maybe he believed that his family were using Prince Philip's health. If you remember, sources close to Meghan and Harry said that they were trying to muzzle Meghan, and Prince Philip sadly died a matter of weeks later. Any normal person would have taken from that and been absolutely horrified at their behavior, but he didn't. And look at all of the attacks that they continued to do, filming Netflix, not knowing that the Queen would die when she did, that the Queen would have been alive to see all of those vile attacks and things that they did. She would have been alive to see that. They didn't stop them. He wasn't, absolutely horrified at his actions when his grandmother, his beloved grandmother, died. Not at all. He's just more angry. And he seems to just be hell-bent on trying to hurt his father as much as he can. And I think it's a very good reason why all of the royal family seem to be keeping him at arm's reach. He cannot be trusted. He's so toxic now and he's so vengeful. I don't think he's ever going to stop, Dan.
No, he's not. He's absolutely not. And he cannot cope with the fact that they've just said, sorry, you're ghosted. And by the way, there is a certain irony to that, given that Meghan ghosted her own father. Now, let me take you through this cover piece in Us Weekly. I should just explain, by the way, and we'll hear from him in just a moment, but Dan Wakeford, who is the new editor-in-chief of Us Weekly, used to run People magazine. He's known as being someone who's very sycophantic towards Harry and Meghan. So this is all coming directly from their people. So this is the cover. Prince Harry's rift with King Charles deepens amid his ongoing court case, and they brand it an exclusive. They speak to a royal insider, Tash, saying this has been terrible for Harry's relationship with Charles. Harry blames Charles and thinks he can intervene, but Charles can't, and it just continues Harry's narrative that he's been cast out. Then under the headline Royal Wounds, a royal insider says Prince Harry doesn't seem to understand that Charles can't get involved in this discussion about his security, but he still blames him. Harry and Meghan are no longer working royals, so they don't get royal protection anymore. It's the British public paying for this, so there's no leeway. Adds the insider, it's between Harry and the Home Office. But then this is when Us takes Harry's side, and they report Us understands Harry was led to believe he was guaranteed protection for the rest of his life. Now, let me just come in there, Tash, to say I know that that is total bullshit, because around all of the time that I was breaking the news about Megxit and then reporting on the Sandringham Summit, I know that senior members of the royal family made it clear to Harry that the consequence of leaving the royal family and why they didn't want him to go in a fit of pique was losing his security. So at the very least, at the time he decided to exit, he knew for a fact that he was not guaranteed protection for the rest of his life, even though that is what he's now briefing Us Weekly. Then an insider goes on to tell the magazine Charles wants to solve the tension with Harry and put it behind them, but there's nothing he can do here. It's all out of his hands. Tash, just before I get your reaction, let me show you the video that this guy who runs Us Weekly and is totally on the side of Harry and Meghan, Dan Wakeford, how he has explained it.
Now this is where it gets nasty. While King Charles is undergoing cancer treatment, Harry uses the front cover of US Weekly to frame him as the villain. Let me repeat that, he attacks his own father through a tabloid cover while the man is sick. This is low, even for the Sussexes. Harry's people are spinning that Charles is ignoring his messages, that he's cast out, and they even suggest Charles is to blame for Harry not getting security. And US Weekly, conveniently run by Dan Wakeford, who's known to be pro-Sussex, prints it like gospel. Harry knew he'd lose taxpayer-funded security. It was part of the deal. Everyone, royal insiders, Sandringham briefings, all of it, made that clear. Yet he's now feeding the press a sob story that he was blindsided. It's a lie. And the worst part? They're pushing this narrative while Charles is battling cancer. This isn't about security. It's about decency. And Harry crossed the line. Charles has incurable cancer, and instead of reaching out like a son, he chooses to undermine him publicly through press leaks. Even in their Oprah interview, Harry and Meghan pushed ahead despite knowing Prince Philip was dying. And they didn't stop after the Queen's death either. They continued to film that Netflix docuseries, knowing the Queen was in her final months. It's almost like their royal relatives' suffering fuels their content. He saw it. She saw how they sold out the family for Netflix dollars. That's not just betrayal, it's cruelty.
But whose fault is that, Tash? And yet you can see all of the framing in that story is as if Harry is the victim rather than cancer-stricken Charles. It's nuts.
I know, of course it is. And, you know, we know that Charles cannot have anything to do with this decision any more than the Queen did when the decision was made. And I don't think that even if this does go in Harry's favour, which I hope it does not, because there's no other member of the royal family that gets what Harry is demanding outside of the King. And then, of course, Prince William and, you know, the heir apparent. But I think with Harry, he wouldn't stop even if he got his security. Next, it would be that he'd demand that he had a palace residence to come stay. I can't bring the children until I get a residence given to me. I can't bring the children until I have this. He's want, take. He doesn't want to pay for his own security. That's what I think the majority of this is about, because it must be costing them millions every year. But he just cannot see that his actions have consequences. No one is treated with the way that Harry is demanding. The senior working royals do not have full-time taxpayer-funded protection, and Harry just seems to leave out of these sob stories. When he comes to the UK, he does get police protection. He just has to follow a set of rules, give them 28 or 30 days notice. He can stay inside palace residences with his children, so they will be safe and protected, but he chooses not to, because it's all part of this constant, boring, tiresome, odious victim narrative. And I think everybody's just sick of this entitled man-child.
Totally sick of it. Completely sick of it. And
over it, Dan.
Yeah. but for me, I'm like, oh my God, does death, and I hate to be dark, but does death never even factor into your thinking? But then actually I go back and I think, no, of course it doesn't, because you knew that Prince Philip was in his dying days.
Yeah.
And you didn't even say to Oprah Winfrey, oh, let's just hold on. Let's just hold off.
Yep.
And then you knew that the late Queen Elizabeth II, arguably the greatest monarch, I actually think the greatest monarch of all time in British history, you knew that she was suffering from blood cancer. All she wanted to do was get to her platinum jubilee. And you couldn't stop with your games for a single second. So while some people might think it's harsh that William and Charles and Catherine and Camilla have now ghosted Harry and Meghan, I think no. The boundaries were very clearly set. The red lines were made abundantly obvious. And even after Oprah, there were lots of opportunities where Harry and Meghan could have just dialed it down a bit, pulled things back. There was still that desire to make things work. But if you speak to people who have suffered from cancer, Tash, they will tell you that your priorities in life immediately change. And that's why it's so funny when we think about Meghan on stage at that Time Summit last night saying, oh, you know, I'm the one that cares about what really matters because Archie's just about to lose a tooth. It's like, no, you have no idea. You have no idea. Try being Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and all of a sudden having your mortality put into question. Try being Prince William, absolutely terrified that he's about to lose the love of his life in a shocking twist that he never expected. Try being Charles, waiting for your entire life to reach the pinnacle of your career, only to be told within months that perhaps virtually your entire reign will have to take place with you suffering from debilitating cancer. It's like that's what brings perspective to life. And I think the fact that Harry hasn't realised that things haven't changed for them is quite something. Sorry, Tash, you go.
Let's be real. The Sussex PR machine is addicted to the victim card. Harry isn't just cut off from his father. He's being unfairly treated, targeted by extremists, and denied protection. Every headline screams poor Harry. Meanwhile, he's flying across the globe, showing up at glitzy events, and giving zero indication he even cares that his father or sister-in-law are battling cancer. And don't forget this. When Endgame reignited the racist royal rumors about Kate and Charles, Harry said nothing. But he did call out Scobie over a fake security training claim. So he'll defend Meghan's reputation, but not his dying father's. Priorities, anyone? Meanwhile, Meghan's out here at Time 100 panels calling herself a female founder. And her brand doesn't even have products. You heard that right. Nothing. Sold out. Try never in stock. It was a marketing stunt, plain and simple. She staged a launch, gave her influencer friends some jam and hand soap, and then, crickets. No shipping updates, no products on the site, and no communication. Imagine if this happened on The Apprentice. Trump or Lord Sugar would have said it. You're fired. It's all smoke and mirrors. No substance. Just curated quotes, empty shelves, and a constant hunger for attention.
No, sorry, Dan, I apologise. But yeah, he just never stopped the attacks. And I think the biggest thing, the more recent thing to bring up, which really got to me, he found out that Catherine and his father had cancer. And when Omid Scobie did his accidental leak on purpose with Endgame, accusing Catherine and William of being the royal racist, ramping all of that narrative up again, Harry and Meghan could have given a statement at any point to diffuse that, to stop their psychotic fan base from gearing all of that up again. He knew that they had cancer and he allowed that narrative to continue. He's never once called out Omid Scobie over those accusations, but he called out Omid Scobie for lying about Meghan apparently having security training. That's his priorities. That is his true nature. And they have to cut him off. It's very sad when it's a family member or even a close friend or someone that you love and care about. When you realize how toxic that person is and all they're going to continue to do is to hurt you and those around you, sometimes you are just sadly left with no choice. It's not easy, and I can imagine it hurts the King and Prince William and Catherine and all of them all of the time, because this isn't who Harry was, but it is very much who he's become, and it's all his own doing.
Now, Tash, just finally, it's been fascinating seeing Meghan have this platform to promote as ever, yet there's still no product. There's still absolutely no product. Meghan's mic posted earlier this week, asever.com still has zero product available.
Yep.
Spread's still coming soon, and the rest sold out. Meghan is a terrible businesswoman.
Yeah.
And it is extraordinary, isn't it? It's absolutely extraordinary. I mean, she just had no product. Why launch when you have no product? This is like if you were in an episode of The Apprentice and either Donald Trump, or if you were in the US, or Lord Alan Sugar was at the table. It would be, Meghan, you're fired. There's no point launching this massive publicity campaign, being on stage at Time, because none of us can buy anything and people move on.
She sat there on stage and was like, when Jessica said, oh, it's sold out in like 25 minutes, like Meghan's 45 minutes. Actually, we knew there'd be a fuss. And it's all this overacting theatrical stuff. And it's like, you deliberately didn't have stock. You knew you didn't have stock. It's a marketing ploy. It was subject to availability. It was a minimal number of items, which I think only her rich, famous friends got certain bits and bobs. Yet for the plebs actually paying the real money, they oversold her products as well, which makes me laugh. They kept taking people's money, even though they know that they didn't have stock. And they've done nothing to restock. If you were making jam in your kitchen rather than whatever factory she's chosen, you could have possibly made up enough jam to shipped out by now. She's done nothing, and there she is talking about being a female founder, like she's built up this whole corporation. She's $1 billion successful female founder in her own right, and she only launched a few weeks ago, and everything's sold out. It's all ridiculous with them. I get very angry when we talk about the Queen and Philip, but then when you're reminded of the silliness of these two, with Harry, with his legend of aviation, and Meghan, she's changing the world one raspberry spread at a time. You just can't help but laugh at how pathetic they really are as a celebrity couple. They've got no talent, no skills. And the people that they hurt the most are the very reason why they've even got the platform that they do.
This video lays it bare. Meghan and Harry have made a brand out of betrayal, victimhood, and manipulation. They've been ghosted by the royals, and they deserve it. Because when family boundaries were drawn, they crossed them again and again. Charles deserves peace. William and Kate deserve privacy. But the Sussexes? They deserve to answer for the damage they've caused. Alright folks, let's open it up. Do you think Harry's attacks on his cancer-stricken father have crossed a line? Is Meghan's female founder act wearing thin? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you're done with this victim act. And subscribe for more brutally honest royal commentary. No sugarcoating here.